Hi, I'm Mr. Burke, and today we're going to be learning to play Air, Land, and Sea. Step 1, the setup. Setup is simple. You take these 3 cards, and you put them in between you in a random order. Then, you deal out the Supreme Commander cards. Deal them at random. One of these will say first player, the other will say second player. That's how you decide who goes first and who goes second. Lastly, your hand. You have a deck of 18 cards. You deal out 6 to each player, meaning there will be 6 unused cards. Set the other 6 cards aside. You will probably not use them. Now, you have the 3 cards between you. You have a first and second player, and each player has a hand of 6 cards. This is the setup for any individual round. Air, Land, and Sea is played across multiple rounds. You need to win multiple rounds to win the game, but I'm going to begin by telling you how to win a round. This is my hand of cards. The cards are marked for Air, Land, and Sea. You can see the little land icon here, and the green card can only be played in front of land. The blue here with the boat icon can only be played in front of sea, and the air icon, the plane with gray background, can only be played in front of air. Very conveniently, here are the cards I can play in front of. To win a round, you need to get the highest score in 2 of the 3 theaters. So you and your opponent take turns playing 1 card from your hand in front of the appropriate theater. So to begin with, maybe I will play my 2 in C. And now I have 2 points in C. Now it's my opponent's turn. My opponent takes a card from their hand and plays it. The card they played was a 6 in C. So they're winning C by 4 points. Doing a quick time lapse, this is how the round ends. We tie in air with 7 points each. Player 1 wins ties, so I win air. That's 1 theater that I've won. In C, I win with 7 points to my opponent's 6. So that's 2 theaters that I have won, so I've already won the round. My opponent did win the 3rd theater, but that does not matter, because you only need to win 2 of the 3 theaters to win the round. Notice that there were only 6 cards played on each side, because when you play a card, you don't draw a card. The 6 unused cards stay off to the side. You don't use them. Now, if that's all there was to Air, Land, and Sea, this would be a fairly boring game. But Air, Land, and Sea has 3 key twists that make it interesting and engaging. Twist number 1, you can play any card face down. If you play it face down, it is worth 2 points and can go in any area, air, land, or sea. So the front of this card is 5 points, but just for air. See the air icon? The back of this card is 2 points, but it can be played in air, land, or sea. So wherever I'm losing a theater and think I can get a boost, that's where I can play it. Already you can see this introduces new strategies, new ways to play cards. But even better is twist number 2. Remember that I said I was just describing how to win a round, but Air, Land, and Sea is played over multiple rounds, and you have to play multiple rounds to win the game. It's not about the number of rounds you win, it's about the number of victory points you get. These little tokens signify victory points. 6, 3, and here's the 1. By winning a round, you get a certain number of victory points. You want to get to 12 victory points to win. Here's twist number 2. If you surrender, your opponent gets less victory points for that win, depending on how early you surrender. If you play a round to the end, and all the cards have been shown, the winner of that round gets 6 victory points. But if you surrender early, your opponent won't get 6 victory points. They'll get either 2, 3, or 4, depending on how early in the round you surrender. So if it looks like you're not going to win the round, you can minimize the damage. You can keep your opponent from getting ever so closer to that 12 by surrendering early. It means your opponent wins the round, but they get less points for it. The Supreme Commander cards tell you how many points to award depending on how early you surrender. So twist number 2 is all about when to call it quits, when to say, I've lost this round, but I don't want the opponent to get any closer to 12 points than possible. And twist number 3 is my favorite twist. If you look at these cards, as long as it's not a 6, it will have an effect written on the card. When you play the card, that effect takes place. In this scenario, my opponent has played a battleship. It's worth 6 points in C. So they have 6 points in C. Now I look at my hand and I see that I have a maneuver in air. So I play maneuver in air. Maneuver has an effect. The lightning bolt means it takes effect immediately. It says, flip an uncovered card in an adjacent theater. Now, what's an adjacent theater? That's a theater that's next to the theater this is in. So air is next to C. So I can flip any card in C. I could not flip a card in air had they played one, and I could not flip a card in land. I can only flip a card in C. So I see battleship and I flip it over. It's now worth only 2 points rather than the previous 6. My opponent doesn't like that, so they play ambush. If we look at the text for ambush, it says, flip any uncovered card. So any card on the field right now that is not covered, and we'll talk about that, they can flip. So they flip back their card to battleship. This flipping mechanic can lead to some really interesting strategies. Here, I have a 6 that can be played under C, but it doesn't look like I'm gonna win C. I don't really have anything else to back it up. So I'd rather play it somewhere else. Well, maybe I'll play the 6 face down under land. It's a 2, and I can play it anywhere now, because I played it face down. Later, on another turn, I'll play this maneuver. When I play this maneuver, it's flip any uncovered card in an adjacent theater, so I can flip over this. Now I have successfully snuck a power 6 card into land, even though it wasn't matching. Again, I played it face down. When I did that, I could play it in any theater, and on a later turn, I played maneuver so that I could flip it over, because maneuver allows me to flip an uncovered card. Some important terminology. Whenever I play a card, I play it on top of other cards I've played in that theater. This is what covered and uncovered means. In this scenario, escalation, which I played first, is covered, and redeploy, which I played second, is uncovered. If my opponent has a maneuver that they play under land, they can flip over any uncovered card. Because they can flip over any uncovered card, they can flip over redeploy, but they can't flip over escalation. Notice that uncovered and face down are 2 different terminologies. This card is face down, but it's also uncovered, whereas escalation is face up, but it's also covered. The abilities take effect not when a card is played, but when a card is revealed. So playing it face up will activate the ability, but also take a look at this face down card. Whatever its ability is has not been activated. But if I play my maneuver to flip over an uncovered card in an adjacent theater, and now I flip it over, now the card has been revealed, and the effect takes place. You may move one of your cards to a different theater. Maybe I'll move the maneuver now over to transport. A few last thoughts. Remember to re-deal first and second player every round. Also, remember to shuffle which of these cards is in the middle every round. Many cards talk about adjacent theaters, and it's important that the adjacent theaters change round to round. That's how you play Air, Land, and Sea. I hope you can see it's a very simple game with 3 interesting twists. It's going to be easier to play once you start because all the cards say their effects on them. Thanks for joining. Until next time, Wale.